Welcome to Americana Quill, ready to write up. Please like and subscribe and tell a friend that likes to subscribe. Today, my guest has a book titled Love Sick Poems, Stories to Turn You On. She's in a guest award-winning poem. Yes, Love Sick, guest award-winning poem, and is a master at her craft. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome Miss Karema Edwards. How you doing?
I'm well, thank you. I'm well.
How you doing during this whole pandemic scenarios
Um,
and things like that?
well, I haven't had a reprieve from the pandemic because I work for transit and I've
Okay.
been working throughout the whole pandemic. It has been really sad to see
Mhm.
some of the things that go on, especially with the homeless.
Uh,
But it's nice to see people come together. I've seen a lot of people look out for each other, which is refreshing. People are a lot kinder to each other. So lending a helping hand is a great thing. It
no,
shouldn't be
absolutely.
tragedy for that to happen or a pandemic for us to be kind to each other. But I'm glad that that's happening, and I'm glad that we're starting to see the sun again because it seems so dim for the last year. But we're starting to get some normalization going on, so I'm happy about that.
No, absolutely. So, I guess I want to start off with your journey. How did you start writing? When did it come to you that you should write a book or start writing poems? I guess that's where your love started initially.
Well, I've been writing since I was young. I started out writing short stories, but after the death of my mother, I started writing poetry. Because
Mm,
poetry, I mean, because I was very sad, very melancholy most of the time, so I started writing poetry, and I love to read. You can't
hmm.
do one without the other. If you
Right.
don't like to read, you'll never be a great writer.
I
And
agree.
being that I had such a love for reading, I said I could do this, and I
Yeah.
started writing more. And in my adult life, it became an outlet. I kept a journal, and poetry was something that was just natural for me because I'm in my 40s, so I come from the hip hop era. So I
Hmm.
used to rhyme when I was in high school,
Okay.
and that just transcended into poetry, and it stayed, it stuck. So I'm glad that I did it. I always suggest when someone is going through something, writing is a great outlet because sometimes what we are afraid to say out loud, we can say it freely on paper. So
So true.
yeah.
I could not agree more. I guess I want to understand the breakdown also of your book. Could you have it broken down in four parts, if I'm not mistaken? Who is she to you? Poison, Trade It All, and You Got Me. So are those short stories, and then there's like a poem to like
Right.
capitalize on it?
Yes, those are four short stories, and the poems are an extension of the stories.
Okay.
It sort of gives you where the stories are coming from. Actually, um, the stories go from. Excuse me for a minute, so I could
No,
like
no
kind of
worries.
break it down. It starts out as kindling. Now you know
Hmm.
kindling is a small fire.
Hmm.
You know, it's small, and then it's raging.
Right.
It's an inferno, and then you have steamy, which is really what happens after the fire is put out. You
Right.
know, now you have the steam. So that's how I broke down my book. This book was a labor of love,
Hmm.
a labor of love. I was going through something in my life, and more when most of the time when I'm going through things, I turn to writing.
Hmm.
So that's what this book was about. Being that I couldn't be on stage like normally, because I would normally do open mics. I did a lot of performing.
Hmm.
And so I was like, this is a good time, take this pandemic time and do something productive. I said, so I'm
Right.
going to write this book. And I like to write about things that are taboo.
Hmm.
And when you're when you're talking about sex, it's
Right.
certain aspects of sex that is non-conventional. It's taboo. So
Right.
my book is about the different ways that we keep our relationships together, how we add spice to our relationships. You can add spice to make a spicy situation hotter,
Right.
or a relationship that's kind of stale, you could spice it up.
Right.
Some people add a person or persons. So
Right.
that's what I said. I'm going to talk about what some people won't talk about, and
Right.
that is an extended relationship where you have another person in your relationship and how that affects you, and how sometimes having that person come into the relationship can be spicy, or sometimes the person can
Instrumental.
feel it. Yeah,
Right.
they can catch
No,
feeling,
absolutely.
and it can go left.
Right.
So it can start out as an adventure and turn into a nightmare. So
Oh, absolutely.
yeah.
Totally.
Did you get a chance to read some of the book?
Unfortunately, I've been so busy with my new job and other things that I couldn't even get to it, but I will because
Okay.
I want to.
Yes.
However, I'm releasing 7 books this year for myself, so I've just been really busy
Oh,
just
that's
running
great.
around. Yeah,
That's
so
great.
so I've been just running around crazy to be honest with you. So I guess my next question is: does writing usually energize you, or does it exhaust you? Like, did this project energize you, or did it exhaust you?
It really was energizing to me. It really was energizing. Seeing something that you created come to fruition, it is
Right.
a beautiful thing. It is. I love the whole process actually.
Yeah.
Even I have the best editor in the world. Shout out to Tia Smart Young. That's my editor. She is the best editor. She really guided me on this journey. It is a lot of work to write a book
Right.
because you want it to flow and you want it to have some depth and you don't want to lose people. Poetry, I love poetry, so it's not a hard sell for me. But when you hear poetry, people like this, I ain't buying no book of poetry. This, that, the third, I'm not gonna do.
Right.
It's nice, but I'm not gonna invest in it. So that made me very apprehensive to really write a book of poetry.
Yeah.
I said, I don't know if I want to do it. You know, poetry is a hard sell. If you're not in that community where you like it, it's not something you'll do. But I was like, you know what? I'm gonna take a chance on myself. I know what my content is. I love to write. I know how to capture attention and not be overbearing. Because
Hmm.
that's even with performing. When you're on stage, you have to survey your audience. And you can lose people if you're too long-winded or if they're not familiar with the topic. So I just
Hmm.
try to get a feel for the audience and stay on task. So this was very energizing for me. I'm actually working on a second book. There's a
Yeah.
preview to my second book here, but it's not going to be poetry. It's going to be
A full
fiction.
fiction. Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm ready. I think I'm ready.
No,
I'm gonna keep it short and sweet and to the point. It'll be an anthology, but it was very energizing. I enjoyed the whole process.
I try to recommend to new authors and people that are starting out to write. Don't think you have to write 70,000 words to feel like an author. Just
No,
complete your story from beginning to end, and you'll feel
it-
complete. And your audience would, if you could get the audience, especially as an independent, saying, "I wish there was more," then you have them for another book. It's when you write too much and they feel like the book could have been shorter, or you could have ended it at chapter 12, or you extended it to chapter 25, is where there's frustration. So I always tell people, especially as an independent, less is more if you know what your story is supposed to tell.
right.
I
That's
totally agree
great
with you.
advice. That really is great advice because because my book is in Barnes and Nobles to order,
Oh,
so
congrats.
that is a big. Thank you so much. That is a big deal to me. And you made such a valid point because I see books in Barnes and Nobles that is 25 pages. I've seen books that are 50 pages and they are on the New York Times best-selling author list. So
Right.
you can do a lot with a little. So that advice that you're giving is great. This book is 108 pages.
Okay.
There are a few pages in the back that if you want to put something in it, like write your thoughts about the book. I've done personal poems to people, like I did one for my brother. I wrote a personal poem, and when I autographed the book, this was, I don't think it needed to go any further. I think this was perfect the way that it was. The short story, I love the feedback that I'm getting because I'm getting a great feedback. They love the poems, but the short stories, which is my first time doing that,
Right.
that's people like, where's the rest? So
And
when
that's
you
where you want
hear
to
where's
have
the
them.
rest,
Right.
that makes you feel so good. I feel so accomplished. I've received so much support with this
Right.
book that is overwhelming in the best way.
No, absolutely. I could only imagine.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. So do you try to be more original to deliver to your readers, or do you try to give them a little bit of what they know to encompass them to feel comfortable in reading your stories? I feel like that's something that's hard to do sometimes as fiction because you want to tell a story, but you don't want to necessarily, you want to tell original stories. However, you don't want to necessarily stray off a path of them thinking, what the hell are you talking about?
Right.
So
This is 100% authentically me. This is my, because what you read is what you get in person. This is my temperament. I am a very open person. Like I have no problem discussing just about anything.
Right.
And you have to be open to critiques, which I'm fine with, because
Hmm.
all feedback is good feedback.
Absolutely.
That's my energy because you're gonna grow from anything. Um, this is definitely on me. I stay on because I read a lot. I'm
Right.
an avid reader, so I kind of get that. I know what people like because I know what I like,
No,
and I
absolutely.
read some of everything. I don't keep it, clearly I'm black. I don't keep everything to urban literature. I read everything. I like
Yeah.
an array of different things. I love James Patterson. He's one of my favorite authors. And
Right.
he writes so many different things. And I think I have influences from everywhere. Frances Ray, one of my favorite authors who has passed away, she writes wholesome love stories. They're very
Right.
wholesome. There's nothing, but it's something that I could read and I could give to my daughter when she was younger for her to read. And this clearly is a mature book, but it's not overt. I try not
Right.
to be so overt because you want to be colorful. You don't want to just say, well, he did this and he did. You want to build up where the person can have their own picture of how it went in their mind.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You just want to
So
give them kind of the skeleton, I think, when you're writing sometimes of what the premise is and let them fill in the colors a little bit more with their
yes,
thoughts.
yes, that's an excellent way to describe it. Yes.
Yeah. So my next question is, since you're talking about different literature and different books, give me one of your favorite, one of the last books you've read that was fiction, and then one that's probably nonfiction of that you
Okay.
truly enjoyed that you can share with the readers or listeners.
Well, the book that I've just read recently is Life After Death by Sister
Okay.
Soldier, and she's getting so much slack about this book because it's not what people think it is. I'm gonna say a little without giving away too much of the on plot. It is excellent. It
Yeah.
is excellent because is some people might describe it as fantasy, as a fantasy book, and but it was I loved every page. It's very layered. It's very late. It's very heavy. If you're a spiritual person, it's very heavy. It is a great, great read. It is not what they're gonna think it is, which is good because they're thinking it's a pickup from the coldest winter ever. Winter is in the book, but it's nothing like you would think it is. It is excellent, excellent
Yeah.
book. What's the book I read before that? Oh
Was
God,
that a nonfiction book? Because I try to go back and forth from fiction to
to
nonfiction and different
nonfiction.
things.
I'm thinking about. I was just reading. What this is what I'm reading now. I'm reading this,
What's it
and
called?
this is God.
Goodwill.
God will help you.
Okay.
And this is by Max Lusada and his wife. They do Christian nonfiction where they just give you pearls of wisdom about life,
Hmm.
about how important it is to stay connected to God, and
Right.
just daily affirmations. That's what I'm reading. That's a great book. That's
Right.
something that you could pick and you can go. If you're going through something, you could go to the table of contents and it will give you something to uplift you in that moment. So I
Right.
like to read everything. Like I
Right.
love to read. If it grabs my attention, if a book is suggested to me, I'm gonna go and get it and read it. And I support other because I'm an indie author now. So
Right.
anybody that and I'm in a lot of groups on Facebook, like I'm in a lot of literature groups. If I see somebody promoting a book, I go buy their book, I read it, I rate it, I give it, I go and leave a review because we have to all look out for each other because we're
No,
all
absolutely.
trying to get to that place. And I've met some great authors. This is exciting for me. I was
Right.
excited about this interview. This
No,
is
I
very, very
appreciate that.
exciting. Yes, definitely. Chris is a great friend of mine.
Yeah, he's
He's
a great
great.
guy.
He's a great person. And I was like, he said, well, how do you feel about being interviewed? I was like, let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it. I love to talk.
No.
Actually, we're talking about books. And you can give me you can suggest some books to me that I can read.
I was just thinking that when you release your next book, maybe we should do a swap where and you come on, like you tell me what you think about my book, and I tell you what I thought about your book,
I would
and
love to. I would
we'll
love to.
definitely do that.
because I truly enjoy reading. It
No,
is,
same, same.
yeah.
It's like I try to tell people that don't understand why you have to read to be a great writer. It's like game tape if you're like an athlete. Like you got to watch film on yourself to critique. And sometimes you just want to read other books. It just for some reason it just helps you become a better writer. I can't explain why the dynamics is. It's just how it goes. It's like watching film on yourself if you were an athlete. It's the same as a writer reading a bunch of books throughout the year. You just have to do
But
it.
I don't know how you like to write and don't want to read.
It's sometimes not alike. Some people feel like they're too busy, but it's like for you to be better, you have to make the time
Yeah,
to
I mean,
read.
even if you read, and if it takes you, it doesn't even matter how long it takes you to finish the book. You have to start something and see it through.
Yeah,
Sometimes you have to see it through. Sometimes you have to go back to it.
right.
Go back to it. Like I just when I'm never reading and writing at the same time. Love
Mm,
Sick came out in January.
hmm
I write because I write for my church also.
hmm
I write a lot of things for my church. I'm actually working on something right now for my church. But personally, anything for myself, I write poetry every day. On
Right,
my Facebook page, if you go to my Facebook page, there's always a poem at least 3 to 4 times a week because writing makes me feel free.
right.
But I'm never right. I haven't thought about writing anything for the book since Love Sick has been out. And I've been getting constant emails and inboxes. So are you going to extend the story? The bonus story, what are we doing? Is that book coming out? I said, let's just let Love Sick marinate.
Right.
Let's let it marinate because it's only been 2 months. Let's let it
Yeah.
marinate
You gotta
because
you gotta live a little bit for you people to. Sometimes people gotta live a little bit to write. You know.
yeah, you because you want it to be good and you don't want to be distracted.
Hmm
When I was writing Love Sick, I was all in. Every day I was thinking about different ideas. I was like this. I said, okay, I can add this. Let me take this away. This doesn't fit anymore.
Right.
And every time I look at this book, I'm glad I'm not wearing makeup just in case I tear up a little bit. Every time I look at this book, I just thank God for the gift of
hmm
writing because that's where my anointings is. We all
Right.
have an anointings in something. My anointings is in words because there's power in the tongue, and that's biblical.
Right.
There's power in the tongue, so we have to be mindful of the things we put into the atmosphere, the words that we speak to people, because they have
Absolutely.
life. So I'm sorry.
No,
But
don't be.
like
It's all right.
this was like such a great accomplishment for me. I'm so proud.
No,
This is
absolutely.
something that I wanted to do for so long. And
I love your book
did
cover,
it.
by the way. It's very clean. Did you
Thank
did you take
you.
that to a particular photographer to get done for you to help you get it done, or?
We looked at a couple of things, and me and my editor, and I was telling her everything she sent me, we hated all the same things. The ones that were sent us, we like, oh, we hate this. We don't like
Right.
this. And this one was perfect. She really wanted a curvier woman because I'm curvy. And
hmm
she wanted it to emulate my body structure, but we couldn't find anything that wasn't tacky.
hmm
This was perfect. I love the color. I love the font. It just
Yeah.
came out and eye catching, but it doesn't look cheesy. And that's what I
Right.
wanted. I didn't want to cheat. I didn't want it cheap. I wanted it to be nice. I'm glad you
Right.
liked it. Yeah.
No, no, I thought it was a very well because that's half the sell is the cover for people. Some people
Yeah.
don't care to read the back. If the cover is nice, they'll give it a chance.
That yeah, that'll draw a person in. They was like, and that's I've got a lot of compliments on the cover. They said, "Oh God, this cover is really nice." So I was like, "Oh, thank you." You know, I'm humbled.
hmm
I'm so humbled. There is not an ounce of pretentiousness in me. This is a very humbling experience because you're as an artist, you are sensitive about your work. So when you
Right.
put your work out there, you just sitting there like this. Please don't hate it. Just
Right.
don't
It's
hate
very
it.
true.
Give it a chance, please. And
Absolutely.
I'm grateful that the feedback is excellent. And like I said, all feedback is good feedback. Even if I get critiques, I'm good with those.
Right.
You apply. You
Absolutely.
yes.
If you could tell your younger self, your younger writing self something for the future, what would you tell them?
Don't stop. Don't stop writing. Don't get discouraged. When you feel discouraged, write more. And step out on faith, take a chance on yourself. Don't stop, because you are your biggest roadblock.
Yeah.
You are your biggest roadblock, because I did this to myself for a long time. I was like, nobody is buying a book of poetry. Nobody is going to do that. I'm corny. I said, I'm corny. I'm going to go buy a book of poetry because that's my thing. And all people that are in the arts, we love it, but it's
Yeah.
not big. So I didn't think that it would be a big thing, but it really is.
But I think you did it the right way. You infused it with stories, right? So it's like, yes, you're giving them what you're great at, but you're also giving them nuance and subject matter with it, which I think more people that do poetry need to think of an encompassing story for it to reach a larger audience. And I think that's something that you've done, which is great.
Thank you so much. I thought that was a great, because when we were talking about, I said, maybe I need to write an introduction to the poems. And it took on a life of its own because I started writing stories, and these are true experiences that I wrote.
Oh, excuse me.
Yes, yeah. The names have been changed to protect the guilty. But this has been so I was like, this would be good. And I was surprised. And I was like, oh, this is really good. This is what I'm saying to myself. I said, I think I did a great job. And my editor, she was like, oh, this is great, Karema. She was like, after we finished everything, she said, I really wish you wrote more stories. She said, I wish that you wrote some more. She said, because everyone that has read it before it went to print was like, I want to know more about the characters. So it gave me confidence to want to write a full fiction story now.
Well, maybe you should choose one of the characters out the book. Not that I'm trying to tell you how to write, but like maybe you pick the main character, one of the characters everyone loved, and you just write a poem in each chapter, and you just keep the same story continuous through. Maybe that's how
That's
you do it.
that's the idea. The
Yeah.
idea is those short stories I was gonna leave as they are. The bonus story is gonna be for the anthology because I'm gonna do an anthology. And everyone who's read it, because I think I'm gonna email it to you and get your see what you think of it. There
Okay.
is there's a whole story.
Hmm.
That's the cleaned up version. I'll send you
Okay.
the edited version of the bonus story. The bonus story is so popular
Right.
among the group of people that I let. They was like, you need to do a short film or something. They said it is so much going on and it flows
Yeah,
consistent.
I've done a few short films too, actually. So it's not easy, but it can be
Oh,
done.
definitely not, I'm sure. I know
Yeah.
that it's so much work to do. It's a lot. But I'm gonna definitely do that. That's why I put the bonus story in here
Hmm.
to get a feel for what people thought about it. And all of my conversations with everyone is one of my characters, her name is Ashley.
Hmm.
They hate her. She's the most famous character. They
Hmm.
hate her. Like I have a villain. That's why I have a villain. I'm excited about that. And
Right.
like this, you got to finish that story. They don't know that it's done. It just has to be edited.
Right.
Story is done because I
Yeah.
was writing that while editing Lovesick. So
Mm.
I'm
No, well, that's
excited.
amazing. Yeah,
Excited. Yes.
that's beautiful. So, what was the hardest chapter for you to write within Lovesick, or the hardest book chapter story, I guess?
Um, I would have to say, who is she to you? Who is she to you was kind of hard. To it wasn't really hard. It was
Was it
reminiscent
emotional?
a little. It was reminiscent. It was reminiscent of a time, and I was like, this one was kind of hard to write because you never want to write and have a character in a vulnerable state because in the first two stories is couples, and the third story is the person that's in a relationship, but it's the female that steps out. So
Mm.
it's like she's the person that steps out. So traded all, I thought was brave. I thought
Hmm.
that was brave. And so but the hardest one emotionally wise would be who is she to you?
Okay.
No, not even who is she to you? Poison.
Poison.
Poison. Yeah.
Why
When
was
you get a chance
poison
to read
when
it,
you?
you'll know why.
Okay.
Yeah. It was hard because she decided to step away from a situation. Poison is about a threesome.
Hmm.
Um,
And is
this
this
is
loosely based on your life or no? I'm sorry if okay, never mind. No
No, it's
comment.
fine.
It's all right.
No. But these are very familiar situations. We'll just say that.
Okay. So
Yeah,
if it might not be you, but it might be someone you know and heard the
right.
stories. Got you.
Definitely. And
Okay.
in that story, she met this young lady, but she actually was an ex of the male character.
Oh, and they played it off as if they didn't know each other.
No, they act like they knew each other and everything. They knew each other. There was no pretending. He didn't feel comfortable with them being so close. He was forthcoming, but long story short, she pulled herself away from her. Like she said, you know what? It's making him uncomfortable, so I'm gonna keep my distance. And then one day she just pops up and she comes to see them both, and they become intimate. But when you see the level of intimacy, clearly they have unfinished business.
Hmm.
Yeah. So,
Got it. Yeah,
God,
that
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So
that would mess up with someone's mental for sure.
he'd be like, nah, that's a little too intense for it to not still be something there because it was intense. Like, I mean, being intimate with someone is, when someone is just enjoying each other, but when someone has been pining for this situation, like, oh, this is a heightened level of ecstasy. Like, also, you guys still have feelings for each other, and you can
Right.
tell.
Hmm.
So that was a little emotional.
Right.
But I was glad to do it. Like, I was very happy with the outcome, and I was very happy with the feedback from it. And reading it, I was like, it reads well,
Right.
and people can relate to it, but people won't talk about it because it's taboo. You
No.
know,
Yeah.
especially in
Absolutely.
situations like that, because women are judged for having those type of feelings. Men are looked at as studs. Women are looked at as, why would you let somebody else be with your man? Even though they would do it, they just wouldn't say anything about it. You
Right.
know, so that's the things that go on.
Mhm.
And it's a chance that you take when, if you do it too often, you don't want that to be what's considered regular in your
Right.
relationship. It is supposed to be a treat.
Right.
It's not supposed to be, oh, this comes with dinner all the time. No.
Right. It depends on whatever the understanding is with that couple. No, absolutely.
Right. So you take a chance when you do it.
Yeah, that's true.
It's very risky.
I wouldn't know, so I'll
No,
take
which is
the
which
expertise.
which is good. And I even put something in the book about, you know, if you know that you are a person that is territorial, that you are a person that is not attracted to the opposite sex, you should not do it just to please your partner.
Mm,
It has to be something that you're both totally in agreement with.
right.
And you have to be comfortable enough to talk about what makes you uncomfortable about it if you did it
Right.
and you didn't like it. You shouldn't feel pressured to do it.
Right.
Right. So it's something that you
It
can't go
definitely
over lightly.
right. It's something you got to think about if you're really built for it or not. It shouldn't be encouraging that. You should want
Absolutely.
to bring it to the table. I think if you're the lady that might partake in it with someone else, with a different partner.
You can't do it just for him.
Right.
You can't. Because if you do it just for him, you're going to be you
Miserable.
you will be miserable. And you should be attracted to the person too. If you're not attracted to the person, you shouldn't do it at all.
Mm,
Absolutely should be both of y'all on the same page.
right.
Definitely.
So I guess my next question is: do you believe in writer's block? Because I don't believe in writer's block, but I do believe in you can have bad writing days. Like I feel like anybody can sit down and really put something down. You might not just like what you put down.
I think that's a great way to describe it. I don't believe in writer's block. I have experienced times where I just wasn't, it wasn't jizzing for me. Like where,
Hmm.
okay, this is decent, but it ain't me.
Hmm.
Where somebody else was reading it, but I think this is great. But I guess we set a certain bar for ourselves. And when we don't reach it, we're like, I'm gonna keep it, but I don't believe in throwing things away.
No, no, I'll rework something for 3 months if I already put it down, but I'm not going to
Right.
necessarily leave it as is.
Because I'm a person that wakes up out my sleep to write. If
Mhm.
I can be dreaming about something, or if I'm laying down and I have an idea in my head, I will get up in that moment and go to writing. Because if you don't do it in that moment, you'll have a you'll have fragments of what you thought it was, but it won't be that same idea. So
Mhm.
I get right to it right then and there.
No, absolutely.
Mhm.
So I guess my next question is, before we close out with a few more, is who do you choose to write for? Like for me, I choose to write whenever I write and I feel like I have a good pretty much the book done. I like to give it to my mom and my wife and let them get their opinions on it. So like I
Okay.
want to know kind of like who do you choose to like give your books to first initially? Like who do you write for to hope they like it or get their opinion from?
Well, my circle is very my girlfriends. My
Mhm.
girlfriends are really good. As of lately, who has been like right here is my sister, my younger sister, who is an avid reader also. I trust her opinion totally because
Yeah.
she gets me. She knows me. I sent a lot of stuff to her. I was like, what do you think? My best friend Tamara, she reads a lot and she knows me. So she'll read it. She's like, oh, I love this. This
Hmm.
is great. This is really good. Well, why didn't you do this with that? That's my sister. My sister tell me that. So I would say that my best friend and my sister, my husband
Right.
also, my husband,
Okay.
I like because I read out loud. Like I'm like,
Hmm.
what do you think of this? He like, well, read it to me, and I'll read it to him whenever I'm writing. Whenever I'm writing something, if I'm writing something for church,
Hmm.
because reading this book, people wouldn't know that I am the spoken word coordinator for my church, and
Right.
so I write a lot of things, and I'll let him. He was like, I like that. That was good. But I can always tell when I need to work on something by response.
Mm.
I was all right. I don't like all rights. I don't do.
Yeah.
I want to move you
Right.
when I write something. I want to move you. I want it to come from a place where, because I'm writing to inspire and I'm writing to uplift. So I
Right.
want it to be moving. So if you say all right, I'm gonna take that as I'm gonna go back to the drawing board.
But do you appreciate that from him being differently from them because he's like the opposite sex of you? So maybe he has a different insight of how
Absolutely.
I will be taken. I think that's why I enjoy hearing what my wife and my mom think, so I can get a better thought of how they would feel of certain things.
My husband is very smart.
Hmm.
So I like to get his opinion on things. And you
Hmm.
need a male's perspective, no matter in anything that I'm writing. Because your girlfriends think, but not my girlfriends, not my sister. If it sucks, they're telling me. They're not, because they want me to do my best.
Right, but even if it's good, it might be only good from their perspective. So like,
Right.
that's what I'm
So
trying to
that's
say.
why I
Yeah.
like when if my husband likes it, then I know that I did a great job.
Right.
If he
No,
likes it.
totally. That's how I feel when I
Because
let them read it.
he's gonna be direct. He's like, no, you could have did this, or maybe you should change that. Well, he'll be like, you're not finished, right? You're still writing it. Let me see the whole thing. Maybe
Hmm.
it's not meshing yet because you haven't finished it. So
No,
I
totally.
appreciate I appreciate his opinion, definitely.
No,
And so now I can
absolutely.
send you stuff so I can get another man's opinion.
No, I hear you.
Yes.
So how many unpublished or half published books do you have in your computer or on a USB?
My God, I have so many. Right as of now, because I'm working on an anthology, I have about 8 unpublished stories, that I'm constantly working on adding things to.
Are you putting some of them all in one book, or are there 8 different books that you want to have out?
No, they're gonna be in one book because I'm gonna do. I'm gonna start with short stories. I'm gonna start with short stories. You Got Me is the bonus story that's in this book.
Hmm.
I'm not gonna say I'm not there to do a full on novel, but I think that I'm gonna work my way up to a novel.
I really think you can go right into it personally from the way you're talking about it and how long you've been writing. It's just about knowing the points you want to hit and just writing maybe 2,000 words a day for maybe 30 days, and you'd be surprised how much you'll have.
You know what? Thank you. That's great. That's great advice, and I appreciate that. And that's something that I think I'll do because I feel like You Got Me is a story that stands alone.
Hmm.
It stands alone by itself.
Yeah.
I guess safety mechanisms for myself because I want to make sure everything is good. I said it. What if I can't go that far with it. But like you said, the book doesn't have to be 500 to 600 pages. It just
Nobody
has to
wants that
be
from an independent author. Like they
at
just don't.
all. Look, at all. And I
Right.
keep saying that my sister's reading a book right now. She said this book is 250 pages and I can't get off of 40 because she said it's not she's not moved.
Right.
She said it's not moving me. She said I'm going to give it to you. Maybe you could give me your opinion on it. And I was like,
Yeah.
I'll look at it, this, that, the third, but you're right.
Like my first few books were like 25,000 words. I purposely didn't want to go past that just because I'm all about building catalog. So if I could build a character that people could fall in love with, great. But like doing a book series, you might want to write a little bit more. But if they're all standalones, 25 to 30,000 words could be just as good. It
I like
depends.
that. Yeah. See, this is why it's important to talk to other people,
Hmm.
especially in the field that have more experience than you. You know, some people get offended. This is a learning. You have to learn. You
Yeah.
can't. When you write your
And I'm
first,
still learning. I don't know it all, but like for me
but
to put
learning
out
is
the books
infinite.
I have,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And I'm really gonna take you up for that because I'm. You ever been in love with a story that you wrote? I
Yeah, a
love.
few of them.
I love this story you got me because it's grit. It's so
Right.
gritty. It's so real.
Hmm.
These are things that happen, you know. And I'm like, I love even the little mean things. When I read it, I said, "Oh, that was mean. That works." You know, to say because it pulls you in. Like, well, that
Right.
was hard, but these are the dynamics that happen in triangular situations, and you got me as a
Right.
triangular situation. It's great. I love it. It's it's shady. The shade is impeccable. Like people are gonna be like, why? And that's all everybody said. They said this is so interesting. It's a page turner that I can see it on
Yeah.
TV.
And if you write more than your word count, great, right? But like if you just reached maybe 30, 35,000 words, even 25, you'll be happy with your results.
I'm gonna do that. I'm happy. I'm excited. This is like a great journey when you're doing something that you love. If I
Right.
could have my way, I would write, just write. But realistically, I live in New
No, a lot of us
York.
would.
It's very, very expensive. So I have to go to work. But if it's your passion, you'll find a way to get it done.
No, absolutely. And I think as an independent author, it's when you're not popular to the mainstream, you got to write catalog that like when one person picks it up and they love that book, they'll look at all your other books, right? So like
Yes,
I think as independent authors, I try to tell everyone that's an independent author that I talk to that we have to think the catalog game. You got to think long term. It's not about one book being a success. It's about you building out 20 books and
right.
then one person loving that one book and then reading the next 19 books that you already have out there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the catalog is definitely the goal. Because I can't wait to see another one of my books. It's
Right.
I'm still reeling. Like it's surreal that
No,
I
no, yeah.
it is. Every day I try not to oversaturate, like cause you don't want to be like lovesick, 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 lovesick. But it's lovesick. You know what I'm
No,
saying?
no, absolutely.
It's
I mean, you
lovesick.
have to promote yourself, right? That you're
Yeah.
gonna be your best advocate. So I totally get that, and I'm the same way. But I think that's the thing about writers. It's like we rather just put out the work because we know how hard we worked on the effort of putting the book out.
Right.
But sometimes you gotta,
You got and you gotta get
you gotta toot your own horn sometimes to let people know this is what I'm doing. This is what I want to be known for, right? So
absolutely.
it's a balance for sure.
Definitely, and that's what I find myself doing. That I'm kind of popular. I know a lot of people, and I'm personable. So I use that to my advantage to, promote my book. And my whole Facebook page is lovesick because
Right.
every time somebody buys my book, they add it to my page. They add it to my page. It's like I had to support my sister, and they'll add it, and they'll take a picture with the book, or I just caught my book. Like my books, it was doing the first day. So many people, my whole page. I worked for Transit. A lot of my friends from Transit bought my book.
Well, that's a great connection, right? And
Yes,
and I think I don't know if they bought it from Amazon or however they bought it, but maybe next time you do a book signing for them and you can ship it to them. So
that's
maybe
what I've
you'll
been doing of lately. I've been
yeah.
shipping a book because my books that I have, I carry them to work. They was like,
Okay.
you have a book? I said, I have my books with me. That way I could take a picture, I could sign it. Because a lot of people wouldn't buy it from Amazon. They said, we're gonna wait for you to have your shipment at home
Yeah, a lot of people are
so we
like
can
that.
get our picture and that you can autograph it for us. And I said, you know what? People send me money for their shipping and handling,
Right.
and I mail the book out to them. And
No,
I was like,
totally.
that's love. That's love, and that's what I appreciate. And I appreciate. I want people to enjoy the book. It's not about just buying it to support it. I want you to read it and enjoy
Right.
it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think what helps out with that though too is that people don't realize how much money goes into like getting the book to be correct as an independent author. It can run you
Oh,
$500 to $1,000 depending on what's
absolute.
going
Look,
on.
it's a lot of work. That's why I said I respect editors. My editor was worth everything. You
Hmm.
know, she was worth it because it is imperative that you have somebody there to help guide you. And it helped that she's my big sis. You know, we went to high school together.
Oh, that's
She's a
beautiful.
great, and she is a phenomenal writer herself.
Right.
And her, her portfolio is amazing. So the fact that she worked with me, she taught me a lot. She taught me a lot. And you want to take something away from any experience that you have, and share the knowledge. And share.
Absolutely.
A lot of people act like they can't help you. So many people have DM'd me since I wrote my book about, well, how do I do this? I said, well, I published through Amazon. It was a great experience. You could do this is what you can do, XYZ. If you're doing a nonfiction book, because my editor, that's her sweet spot. I was like this. I said, she's a great editor. She has a free workshop that you can do. And I plug them in with the right areas because someone helped me. We have to
Right.
help each other. It's not a secret. We have to help. It's enough for everybody.
No,
We
I
can't have
agree.
that attitude. Yeah.
I think what bothers me most is when you give someone the information, then they don't do nothing with it. It's like, don't waste my time when I could have been focusing on that.
Right.
Bothers me, I guess, as a writer. It's like, don't ask
Oh,
me for all this
absolutely.
advice and then you're not following through. Like if like I just don't have the patience to like deal with people that don't like to follow through. But I still give the advice, but it's up to you to do something with it. Like I'm not gonna hold
Absolutely. Definitely. And
your
I
hand through.
take advice. If you're going to sit there and ask questions, do something with it. Do something with it.
Right,
Respect people's time and everything. Some people and then they want you to do all the work. You know,
right,
they want you to do all the work. It's I mean, they have nothing written. When you
right.
go to an editor, have something down.
No, have what
Have
you think
something
is
they
a
can look.
completed
Have some,
project
yeah.
and
Have
then let
something
them.
together that they can look at so they can figure out how you're gonna go. When I went to my editor, I had 98 poems
Mhm.
when I went to my editor, and I was giving her the idea of what I wanted to do, or what I wanted the premise to be. And we sat down and we discussed everything, and she gave me homework. She gave me assignments. I did the assignments because
Yeah,
I'm about you gotta complete. I'm a person like that. I do not start anything and not finish it. I have to see it through. I'm anal that
absolutely.
way. And it was great. You need this is discipline. You gotta be disciplined to do this if you want it to be good. You have to, and I believe in being on time.
No, I
And
agree.
I don't want to because I don't want anyone to take my time for granted. So when we say
Right.
we have a meeting, I'm breaking my neck to get to the meeting to make sure I'm there. I have no problem waiting, but good impression. I want to make a good impression.
Right. So I apologize for making you
Oh
wait a few
no, that
minutes
was a,
while I was
let
trying
me
to
tell you,
log in
we
and
do church.
everything.
I do church on Zoom. I already know about Zoom.
Okay.
We do everything on Zoom, and Zoom is so overly used right now that sometimes it takes us so long to get into a room, and we've had the room for months, so I know how that is. I just wanted to make sure I had the time correct.
No, no,
So
no.
I was
You
like,
were
I've
good.
been up. I got up at 7. I was like, I know we have this meeting this morning. Let me start moving and getting everything together so that you can have my undivided attention.
No,
Because
I appreciate that.
I appreciate you taking it. This is a big deal for me.
No,
I'm
I
gonna
appreciate that.
I'm gonna put this is gonna be on my page. I already told my sister about the interview, and I was like, we gotta follow his page. We gotta support him. This, that,
Oh,
the
I
third.
appreciate that.
No, this is what we do. This is what
Yeah.
you're supposed to do,
Right.
because we have to help each other out.
Yeah. The reason why I wanted to build this, sorry, the reason why I wanted to build this platform is because I don't know many places where authors can at least have something out and then use the content to like promote themselves again. Right. So
Right.
instead of me like paying for new marketing tools, it's like let me do something that doesn't cost me much but can still come out consistently week by week. That not
Absolutely.
only helps me but helps those that I interview and get people to know about them a little bit. So
Exactly, because you're an author,
right.
and you're gonna have to give me your information so that I can get your books.
No, absolutely.
Yes.
How about you tell everyone where they can find your books, and then I'm going to give them the quote of the week and the lyrics of the week, and we'll close this thing
Okay.
out.
Well, you can find Lovesick on Amazon.com. The book is $15.99. If you want to buy directly from me, my name is Karema Edwards. I am Karema All Smile Edwards on Facebook, where you can find me. I am Yellowtail_1 on Instagram, and a Diary of Rima on Instagram. I have two Instagram pages. Yellowtail_1 on Snapchat. I'm outside. You can find me on all social media platforms. I'm on Twitter also, but mainly I'm on Instagram. I'm heavy on Instagram. I'm on Instagram a lot. Lovesick, Poems and Stories to Turn You On. It is my third child. This is my third child. I appreciate any support. All feedback is wanted and welcomed. I am not sensitive. I am even willing to, like, when I do my anthology, I even want to feature other independent authors.
Mm,
And I don't mind being in someone else's book. Let's
right,
work. I want
right.
to work.
No,
Yes.
that's beautiful.
And thank you
So,
so much. I
oh no,
appreciate
of
Yes.
course, absolutely. So the quote of the week, which I think kind of I thought about kind of what you're doing now with your poems and your books. So the quote of the week is from some other writer that I don't think I got their name, but it says, "Start writing no matter what. The water does not float until the faucet is turned on." So
Love that.
that's the
Love that.
quote of the week, and that kind of speaks to for me about just trying to stay in flow. Like to be a great writer, you just got to be able to go with things and just be in flow. So I think that's something that all
I
writers
think
should think
that's
about.
very poignant.
Yeah,
And please send me that
I
quote,
will. I
because
will.
that's gonna go on my page today.
And then
Yes.
lyrics of the week. I thought of kind of what your title was and thought of Etta James. And so it's from At Last. At last the skies above are blue. My heart was wrapped up in the clover. Excuse me. The night I looked at you. So although it's just a quick sentence, I just think your book kind of symbolizes just wanting someone to feel whole at times. It seemed like from the title I got. So I just wanted to
You get
kind of
me.
have that.
You get me. That's what it's
So I'm
about.
glad.
Love sick has the ability to when you're lovesick, you're off balance. You're off balance. You trying to steady yourself. Because if you ever have had a broken heart, it is the you feel sick.
Right.
You feel sick. And it's not because of something you've eaten. You can't eat, you can't sleep, you are in a constant state of sadness. You love sick, you know,
Absolutely.
and
I
that's
think we've
yeah,
all been there for sure on some levels. Absolutely.
definitely, definitely.
So I want to thank you again, Karima.
Yes, thank you, thank
No,
you.
thank you.
Yes,
Everyone, please like and subscribe. This has been Americana Quill, writer to writer. Take care.
thank you.